Live from the heart of SEC country, this is your daily fix of grit, guts, and gridiron glory. Welcome to the Deep South College Football Show.
Owens, here he goes! Georgia retakes the lead!
Breaking down the biggest matchups, the boldest takes, and the deepest rivalries in college football on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC.
Intercepted! They confused him! Xavier Brown headed the other way! Touchdown Tide!
From Fayetteville to Gainesville, from the Grove to Toomer's Corner, it's SEC football.
Chambers delivers! Touchdown!
Now, here's your award-winning host, Wyatt Fulton.
Welcome into another edition of the Deep South College Football Show right here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC, your home for Alabama Crimson Tide sports. Today, what we're going to do is we're going to go through just week by week and pick what we think, best games are each week of the college football season because, gentlemen, I think this has the potential to be one of the most entertaining college football seasons ever when you look at the matchups that you've got all the way from week 0 trickling on down in the effect to rivalry week. And again, that's just the regular season. We've got conference championships. We've got the college football playoff. That this has the potential to be the pinnacle of college football, the 2026 season does, at least in my opinion. I don't know. Y'all may think differently.
No, I'm really just excited in general. I don't know if it's just because it's been that long since college football, because it always kind of feels like, this little stretch here, there's just a few weeks away. This is about the time that I really, really start craving. Now, of course, deep June and July, I kind of feel it a little bit. Like I start to get that taste of it a little bit. Mm-hmm. But now I'm really craving for it. And it's like you can see it, but it's just I can't quite reach it yet.
We're deep into fall camp now for most universities. I think everybody's kind of gotten rocking and rolling at this point here, unless, maybe you're, I don't know. Everybody's gotten rocking and rolling if you're playing in week 1 for fall camp here. Alabama's got a scrimmage coming up on Thursday. We'll talk with Kalen DeBoer tomorrow afternoon to hear what he had to say, or his thoughts on Alabama's first scrimmage. But Whitman, am I wrong in saying that this could be one of the best seasons of college football ever?
As much as we like to hate on conference realignment and all of that, I'd be stupid to say that it doesn't give us some really fun football games. That I can get behind. That is what it has led to. We get Texas versus Oklahoma, LSU, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, Tennessee. That's just one team schedule. The SEC slate is going to be great this year. The Big Ten slate is going to be great this year, seeing what Ohio State does with their schedule, with their 12 games. The ACC is kind of a coin toss right now, like a 6-headed coin. You just throw it up in the air, see where it lands outside of Miami.
I was going to say, figure out who's going to go play Miami and Charlotte in the first weekend of December.
And then the Big 12 will present you 1.5 million questions on any given year. So they're a constant. They are the control group of fun in the Power Four.
The rebirth of the Pac-12 as well, albeit it may not be at the same level that it was, but you've at least got some Pac-12 football that's going to be making an appearance. You've got teams that, North Dakota State's been a lot of fun in the FCS level, but now they're moving up to the big ranks. Now they're moving up to, Division I college football, and what can they do in their first season in the Mountain West? And UNLV, we've seen UNLV and Dan Mullen have a lot of early success at programs. Well, he's a guy that I think On3 had put it out too, that like he might be a Division I, like a Power 4 head coach in the very near future, again, after a couple of tenures with Mississippi State and Florida. So going to be a lot of fun this college football season. We'll go ahead and dive into it here, because if we're talking about 12 weeks, then we've got a lot of football to go through today here. This is the week 0 slate here. North Carolina, TCU, San Jose State, USC. We've talked about it before. I think off the rip, you've got to go North Carolina, TCU, Power 4 versus Power 4, the only Power 4 VP4 matchup that we get here this season, or not this season, sorry, in week 0 here. Plus, it's in Dublin, Ireland, which has really embraced tradition and really embraced college football. It feels like almost to me that the season opener in week 0 being in Dublin, Ireland, that's becoming a tradition in college football. It's something that we haven't had for very long, but like we talked about a couple of days ago, right? Georgia Tech, Florida State, that game delivered in week 1 2 seasons ago. Last year, Farmageddon between Kansas State and Iowa State. That was another really intense matchup. This one, you've got good storylines. TCU, no Josh Hoover. Sonny Dykes, is he on the hot seat after a national championship appearance a couple of seasons ago? And what can you say about Bill Belichick at North Carolina? Because there's a ton of storylines coming out of that. Not to mention Bobby P is the offensive coordinator. May want to keep him out of a couple of the pubs up there in Dublin.
No, I completely agree, though. You know, we mentioned it. You're exactly right. We mentioned it a couple days ago. I don't like college football games being played off of college campuses, 1, 2, outside of the freaking country. However, we want to do like one big one a year, kick off the season in Dublin, just let Guinness run wild over 2 lucky fan bases for a couple days.
Yes.
So be it. Because, we're 2 for 2 on this game delivering. So
it's blossoming into a tradition. And I think it's something that, again, not only does, Dublin and the Irish, they do a really good job of embracing that. Would love to get to see Notre Dame in one of those over in Dublin.
I think it's fair to say Ireland has earned their right to host at least the next year.
I think they have. I think Dublin has, kind of earned the right to be integrated into the tradition of college football. Again, they've done an incredible job. Would love to see Notre Dame get a matchup over there. I think that'd be a lot of fun. Setting the Fighting Irish to Dublin.
Who do they play?
It's a good question. I'm a history guy, so I think you give me Catholics versus convicts in Dublin, I'd be all for that as a season opener.
What if we just make it, sorry, everyone, like the whitest football game ever, and we go Notre Dame and Boston College in Ireland?
I was thinking you were going to say BYU, not Boston College.
No. Well, no, they have nothing to do with that. No, a lot of Irish immigrants, a lot of Irish people in Boston. Send Boston College over there. That'd be a good game.
That could be a lot of fun, actually. I don't know, and that's the thing too. Is like this doesn't really feel like an SEC thing. Like, honestly, keep the SEC out of this. The SEC has no reason to be in these matchups, but the Big 12, the ACC, Notre Dame. I'd even argue maybe keep the Big 10 out of it.
I think you could send South Carolina to Ireland.
No,
I think that'd be fun. That fan base.
This feels like something that the SEC should not be a part of. And that's not a slight at the SEC. That's not saying, Dublin, Ireland doesn't deserve the best, because they do. But this is a tradition that I say tradition. We've done this twice. This is year number 3 here. But no SEC team has made an appearance yet. Right? We had Georgia Tech, Florida State, ACC on ACC matchup, conference game in week 0 in Dublin, Ireland.
Conferences.
Right. Only 2 conferences have made an appearance, the ACC and the Big 12. This almost feels like their thing at this point. Unless, do we know what the 2027 matchup is yet?
I don't think that's been announced. No.
Pitt versus Wisconsin.
I lied.
So we do get the Big 10 getting involved. But again, Wisconsin, they're honorary Irish with the way that they drink. Wisconsinites are not allowed to participate in drinking games across the world. Like, they are internationally banned from competing in drinking games. Send those jokers to Ireland. Let them go compete it over there.
That's why Floyd Mayweather would never fight Mike Tyson. It's called a weight class.
Yeah. Well, Wisconsin. This feels like a tradition that, honest to God, keep the SEC out of it. Not that the SEC doesn't deserve it. Not that Ireland doesn't deserve to get to see SEC teams. But this is just something that feels like it's fun. Right? And not to, and when I think of fun football, where it's just chaos, right? That's what this is. This is chaos. When I think of chaos, I don't think of the SEC. I think of the ACC. I think of the Big 12. I think of maybe even Pac-12 after dark, but now you're getting a little odd sending them literally to the other side of the world based on time zones. But I think of the Big 12 and the ACC when it comes to chaos. Keep the Southeastern Conference away from Dublin, Ireland.
But if I would agree with that. I think what I said earlier got misconstrued. I don't think South Carolina should be one. I'm just saying if the SEC were to ever have a team, for some reason, that's who I would want to go.
South Carolina would be a good one. I'd be okay with that.
And I don't see another, like Kentucky maybe. I think Tennessee would be interesting, but they're a little too.
Tennessee would be fun.
I think
Florida.
They would never.
I think Florida could be a good one.
Maybe. But in terms of like the fun aspect that the fans seem to pull out of going to Dublin every year, show Europe what Cocktober looks like.
Ooh. Well, the problem is this is at August, maybe? No. Caucus? I don't know. When you look at South, we're walking a fine line now. Anyways, long story short, keep the SEC out of this, but I like the idea of, the season kickoff in week 0 being in Dublin. It's becoming a tradition in college football and in a sport that is built on tradition, in a world where the sport that was built on tradition, we're losing recipes in this sport every single day. I like the fact that this is becoming something. I like that this is starting to feel like something that, hey, every year, man, we're kicking off the season in Dublin, Ireland. When you look at some of these marquee matchups that you get, and again, Wisconsin, you guys talk a big game. 2027, you better be ready for that matchup there. Moving on into week 1 here. We've got a lot of games during the week as college football, does their annual kickoff. And on Thursday night, I'm looking at Colorado and Georgia Tech. Anything outside of that, and I think you're absolutely insane. But you get Big 12 versus ACC, Colorado versus Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech goes up to Boulder last season and wins that game on the legs of Haynes King late in that fourth quarter. Now this season here, Colorado's got to go to Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia. New look Georgia Tech, new look Colorado. Both these teams Colorado is trying to remain relevant following the Shedeur Sanders, Travis Hunter era because they kind of fell by the wayside last season. Georgia Tech's trying to prove that they belong on the big stage in the ACC when, they were so close to making that conference championship last year. They've played 2 really fun games against Georgia the last couple of seasons. So I think this is one on Thursday night. I'm looking at Colorado and Georgia Tech. Is there anything else that you guys are paying attention to?
Not that day.
Not on Thursday. All right, moving on into Friday here. Miami at Stanford. 3 time zones the other direction. 8 p.m. Central Time kick, 9 p.m. body time for the Miami Hurricanes. I get it's week 1, but, you're playing week 1. You're not quite used to playing college football for the season. And you got to go 3 time zones the other direction. That spread, we've got spreads for some of these games, as you can see on the right side of the graph, or on the right side of ESPN.com here. Miami 23.5. Any chance Stanford covers that? I don't know. I'm kind of thinking maybe Stanford covers that spread. Week 1 at home.
There may be $5 less on my phone when we come back from break.
I'm saying, notice how I didn't say upset or win. I just said cover the spread.
23.5 points after traveling over 3,000 miles. Weird game week.
Good teams win.
Yeah, I think that's a great point about the fact that it's played on a Friday. There's just so many variables that go into it that's making me think that I don't know. It's just not going to be it's going to be a very messy type game.
I think for the record, I do have Miami winning that game. Spoiler alert to our big week 1, when we pick all the ranked teams, but I do have Miami winning that game. But I don't know, could get a little frisky. That's one that I'm kind of side-eyeing, right? Like week 1, you've always got these games that it's like, okay, new teams, new environments, new faces. Somebody's going to go on the road and somebody's got to go on the road, right? Not everybody can open the season at home, and Miami's going to be the one that has to go on the road to Stanford on the other side of the country. Like Whitman said, it's over 3,000 miles away on a Friday night. You're not really used to playing on a Friday night in Miami, or if you're at Miami. This is just one that, hey, I'm not calling anything. I'm not saying, upset alert or anything like that. But when I look at this game, I take this little pen right here and I just circle it and I go, okay, that's one that I'm going to keep an eye on here on a Friday night in Stanford, California. Moving on into the Saturday slate here. It's not the best. All right, this is not the best week 1 that we've ever had to open a season, as you can clearly see from the list of teams here that we're kind of scrolling down. But I am interested in Baylor and Auburn. right? That game being played in Atlanta, Georgia could be a really fun one. Oklahoma State went out to Tulsa and lost last season. Now they got to go back to Hurricanes, or are they the Cyclones?
The Golden Hurricanes?
Golden Hurricanes sounds correct. Regardless, they're going to go to Tulsa after losing that game a season ago here. And then again, outside of that, the week 1 slate's not the best here. But we are going to be paying attention to Clemson versus LSU right there, 6:30 on ABC. I think that's probably the big one that everybody's kind of keeping their eye on. Sunday, you've got Louisville and Ole Miss, Wisconsin versus Notre Dame from Lambeau Field in Green Bay, Wisconsin. And then you've also got a in-conference ACC matchup between SMU and Florida State on Monday, September the 7th. New look Florida State team. But, gentlemen, is it LSU Clemson? That's probably our best one.
Gotta be.
LSU Clemson on a Saturday night in Death Valley, the real Death Valley. And then you got Louisville and Ole Miss from Nashville, Tennessee, and the Titans not the new stadium, the old stadium still. The new stadium will be ready next summer. When we go to SEC Media Days in Nashville, hopefully we get to kind of check out that stadium next summer. But Louisville versus Ole Miss in the home of the Tennessee Titans, Wisconsin versus Notre Dame in Lambeau Field in Green Bay. That's another fun one. Would have really liked that to be in Camp Randall with Jump Around, or in South Bend with Touchdown Jesus watching over the game. But even still, Lambeau Field is iconic. And as much as I would like that to be on a college campus, can't go quite as bad with Lambeau Field. And then SMU Florida State from Doak Campbell Stadium. Really, really excited about that matchup with the new look Florida State squad. We'll take our first time out here on the Deep South College Football Show. Coming up next, we'll keep rolling through the college football season and picking what we think are going to be some of the best games of the season right here on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. Welcome back to the Deep South College Football Show on Tide 100.9 and 1230 AM WTBC. We're taking a look at some of the best games of the college football season here. This is the week 1 slate that we've already talked about here. If we go back up to the top here, we can go ahead and head on over to week number 2 with college football here. Again, what is with Miami? Look at Thursday, September the 10th. What is up with Miami here?
They've been known to play a lot of weeknight games over the past several years. Before Cristobal even got there, they did a lot last year. I mean, for some reason, the ACC gets a lot of weeknight action, especially Friday nights. The ACC has a lot of Friday night games. But for some reason, I guess that's like their chance to give Miami the marquee spot, is because they know the ACC, like, they're never going to put up a game that dominates, ABC and the SEC. They're never going to take away Big Noon. They're never going to take away even the CBS game from the Big Ten. So it would make sense to put their premier school on Friday night when kind of the world's watching, kind of. Everybody's getting primed for college football Saturday.
I guess that's fair. Just still really odd. And I mean, they're playing Florida A&M, so like whoop-de freaking do. But even still, Friday, September 11th, you've got Missouri and Kansas. That's rivalry game. Missouri's got to go on the road to Kansas. Really excited about that one there. But Saturday is where, the meat and potatoes make their appearance here. Oklahoma at Michigan, 11 a.m. on Fox. Michigan, a 1.5-point favorite right now in that matchup against the Sooners. So, again, for those that don't know, in terms of quote-unquote betting lines, the home team gets 3 points just for being the home team. So if this game were in Norman, Oklahoma would probably be if I can do math, a 1.5-point favorite. Yeah, Oklahoma. If this game were in Norman, Oklahoma would be 1.5-point favorite. If this game is in Ann Arbor, which it is, Michigan's a 1.5-point favorite, which means that on a neutral field, this would be a pick'em between Oklahoma and Michigan. So really, really excited for that matchup there. You've got Arizona State heading to Kyle Field in a non-conference matchup there for the Aggies. Texas A&M, a 14.5-point favorite over Kenny Dillingham's squad there. Oregon and Oklahoma State, that game became a bludgeoning, a splattering, as some would call it, last season at 11 a.m. But Oregon, an 18.5-point favorite over the new look Oklahoma State Cowboys there. And then scrolling on through the slate here, you've got your first SEC on SEC action as Alabama's going to go to Lexington at 2:30 on ABC. Cal's got to go all the way across the country and go play Syracuse. And we know that dome's a problem for a lot of teams, right? How many times has Clemson walked into Syracuse undefeated and walked out either threatened to high hell or with a loss in that column in the ACC, right? So
it has happened.
We know Syracuse is a problem. Cal's got to go 3+ time zones the other direction. JKS may be one of the best quarterbacks in the country sitting there in Cal, but first-year head coach in Tosh Lupoi, I don't know. That's one that could get a little frisky. Duke and Illinois, that's a fun one. They played last season with Darian Mensah and Luke Altmaier, 2:30 on FS1, but this one's going to be in Champaign, whereas last year's game was in Duke or was at Duke. So looking through the rest of the slate here, again, some of these games are not the best, but I see Tennessee and Georgia Tech there at 6 o'clock on ESPN. Tennessee got to go to Bobby Dodd Stadium in Atlanta, Georgia there. Could we see it? What, these two teams haven't played since they played in Bristol. Am I right?
That was Virginia Tech.
That was Virginia Tech. Why do I always get those two confused? I do apologize. But Tennessee and Georgia Tech, though, should be a fun matchup there. Your nightcap right here. Ohio State and Texas at 6:30 on ABC. Texas, a 1.5-point favorite over the Buckeyes. And again, Texas gets 3 points for being the home team. If this game were in Columbus, Ohio State would be a 1.5-point favorite. If this game was on a neutral field, like let's say we're playing this game in Nashville, right? Because if Dallas, then Texas is still technically the home team. But let's say this game's in, Nashville or something like that. Or let's send everybody out west to California and go play in the Rose Bowl. That's a pick'em game at that point. So a really good matchup between Ohio State and Texas there. You've got the battle for Iowa. I know that's got an actual rivalry name, but I can't remember what it is, between Iowa State and Iowa on NBC at 6:30. Cyhawk. Thank you. Cyhawk between Iowa State and Iowa there. Kinnick Stadium in Iowa City, Iowa, an 11.5-point favorite over the in-state Cyclones there. Could be a lot of fun. Matt Campbell, Rocco Beck no longer hanging around Iowa State. That program has got a brand new, just whole entire crew. So really excited to see the new look Cyclones this season in the Big 12. Arkansas is going to go to Utah at 9:15 p.m. Let's freaking go. It's going to be a lot of fun watching SEC on Big 12 action there. And then just because we can, the Mountain West app. Gentlemen, you better be downloading that Mountain West app to watch some college football this season. You better download that Mountain West app and watch college football on it this season. They don't even sponsor the show, and I'm just giving them a free plug there. New Mexico State, you better. I'll fire you if you don't. New Mexico State. New Mexico State and Hawaii at 11 p.m. on the that says Mountain West Plus, but the last time I watched a Hawaii game, it also said that, and I was able to watch it on the app. So I don't know. Download your local Mountain West app. Louisiana at USC, whoop-de-doo. Maybe that'll get frisky because it's just kicking off at 10 p.m. Central Time. Again, this is Central Time because we are in Central Time right now. Hawaii and New Mexico State kick off at midnight there on the East Coast there. But rolling on into week number 3 here. Again, ACC on ACC action on a Thursday night, September the 17th. Syracuse at Pitt. Miami's going to go to Wake Forest on a Friday night. When does Miami play on a Saturday? When the hell does Miami play on Saturday? I mean, hey, good for the Hurricanes, right? They can, they get ready for Friday. They play on Friday night, and then they can turn around and go and, rock and roll on Saturday. Just hang out with the boys, rehab, get ready for the next game week.
I was going to say, to be fair, Houston at Texas Tech on a Friday, 7 p.m. That's I don't know. That's pretty interesting for a Friday night slot game.
Playing college football on a Friday night in the state of Texas. I feel like that's not a great idea.
Sacrilege.
Yeah, sacrilegious almost.
If I may.
Almost sacrilegious, but Connor Wegman, Will Hammond going to be going toe-to-toe there on Friday, September the 18th at 7 p.m. on Fox from Galaxy Stadium. Hell of a stadium name there in Lubbock, Texas. Then Saturday, September the 19th, the doors get blown wide open with SEC and ACC play there. Georgia's going to Arkansas. Arizona State's going to play Kansas in London, England. Why? I don't know. We shouldn't be playing that game in London, England. That game should be in Kansas, in Lawrence.
To be fair, if it's any stadium over across the seas, Wembley Stadium, phenomenal.
That's for the NFL. Leave it for the NFL.
No, England has not done what they needed to deserve a college football game. Ireland deserves it. The Brits do not deserve it. If they won the World Cup, we should give them a college football game. But they didn't. they should get stuck with the NFL.
We dumped tea in a harbor. And we dumped tea in a harbor to get away from England.
It's like we're giving the tea right back to them, giving them our most prized possession.
We dumped tea in a harbor, and we fought a war to get away from England.
The government
why the hell are we giving them
for treason?
Why the hell are we giving them our best? Why are we giving them our best product?
Power 4 football. Power 4 college football.
This is a conference game.
If I put those 4 words in an envelope, I would keep it at Fort Knox, locked up, protected from anybody that could hurt it. Power 4 college football. What makes America America? And we are giving it to the OG beef of our country.
We fought a war against them just so we didn't have to do this. Shame on you, decision makers in college football. Shame on you, Big 12 athletic director. Clearly you hate America. No, I'm kidding. North Carolina goes to Clemson. Bill Belichick's going to take on Clemson there in Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. You got a revenge factor, Florida State against Alabama. And as much as, we love a good storyline around here, Florida State going to Alabama after the upset last season, I'm not envisioning that being anything major, but you never know. I didn't think Florida State was going to win that game last year either there. USC and Rutgers. Again, I know we're talking about best matchups, and I just threw out Rutgers' name. Somebody, take me out back and, old yeller me. But USC, 3+ time zones the other direction. Rutgers still has KJ Duff and Antoine Raymond at wide receiver and running back. And they've got a capable quarterback in Dylan Lonergan. Not saying there's an upset brewing here, and we don't have a spread yet there in Piscataway, New Jersey. But that's another one that, Miami and Stanford, USC going all the way across the country to Rutgers. I'm going to circle that one and say, all right, I may not sit there and watch it because I'll be covering the Alabama-Florida State game at 2:30, but, I may not have it pulled up exactly on my television screen or I guess on my iPad in the press box in Bryant-Denny Stadium, but I'm going to keep an eye on that. That's one that I'm going to, keep the box score pulled up on my app there as I'm, checking out what's going on there between the Crimson Tide and the Florida State Seminoles. Florida and Auburn, the battle of the new head coaches in the SEC, 6 o'clock on ESPN. All this gets thrown out of the window immediately, though, when you see who's playing at 6:30 on ABC. Game of the year, immediately right there. Center of ESPN's website right there, that we're currently projecting on the show here. LSU and Ole Miss. Can't get any better than LSU and Ole Miss in week number 3. Tickets as low as $615. Gentlemen, we got an extra $615 laying around.
I'm hoping there's a student ticket that somebody at Ole Miss doesn't want to use, that my sister can grab me for like a third of that. If so, that might be the best piece of like on the street in the middle of journalism.
Yeah.
Tide 100.9 has ever gotten.
Oh yeah. Legitimately, if you get one, vlog it on your phone, and we will post that to social media.
Yes, I will do it.
I'll loan you my mini mics too, so that way you can just interview people in the stadium on the street.
On the Grove. Not that big, by the way. The Grove. I don't know if you've ever seen it. Actually, surprisingly small.
It's not about the size of the boat.
Stop it.
It's not about the size of the boat. And Ole Miss does a really good job with the motion there in the Grove. Michigan State's going to Notre Dame at 6:30 there. Again, past that, it's LSU, it's Ole Miss, and the field by that point. But Whitman, hey, man, look, if you take my advice, right, because I won our Pick'em challenge last year, take my advice, Stanford to cover the 23.5-point spread against Miami, Rutgers to cover the spread against USC. There you go. There's your money for a ticket to Ole Miss and LSU in week number 3. We'll take our next time out here, the halftime break of the Deep South College Football Show, right here on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. Welcome back into the Deep South College Football Show on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. And at the pace we're moving, this is going to turn into a multi-day affair talking about these college football games. But even still, we got a lot of games here, a lot of good games on the slate here as we move into week 4. Again, I don't want to pull an upset. I don't want to call an upset. But 9:30 on a Friday night, Clemson going to Cal. I don't know how many times I can say it. 3 time zones the other direction. You got to go from the Atlantic coast to the Pacific coast. 9:30 p.m. Central Time for Clemson. Body time, that's a 10:30 p.m. start. For Cal, that's what, 7:30? So for them, that's prime time.
Why?
Tickets as low as $62. This is a perfect storm.
How sure are you that this can be classified as an upset at the time? What if Clemson's a 2-loss team? What if Cal's undefeated?
That's a great question.
This, like,
even though I can't see you.
This, yeah. Simon's working the stream, getting ready for Ryan Fowler.
Okay, that's fair.
There we go. All right, I'm back. No, I mean, there's a really good chance that Cal is.
There's a good chance that Cal's favored in this game.
Yes, very much so. Very much so.
That game, they're in Berkeley, California at 7:30, right? Pacific time zone is 2 hours behind Central. Can you tell I'm not good with times? Yeah, 2 hours. So 7:30 local time, 10:30 body time for Clemson. I don't know. What happens if Clemson pulls off the week 1 upset, though? What happens if Clemson upsets LSU?
I'd be a very happy boy.
Okay. All right. Clemson at Cal there. Again, that's another one that if Clemson is favored, perfect storm. I'm circling that one and saying, okay, don't know that it will be an upset, but I'm watching that one. I'm keeping my eye on that game because we've seen these East Coast teams go to the West Coast before. I remember a couple of years ago, Miami and Cal, right? When Cal and Jaden Ott were running up and down the field, and suddenly here comes Miami with a massive second half, and the Hurricanes eked out a very, very tight win over the Cal Bears. But I don't know, could be a perfect storm there. Then you get into some good SEC action. South Carolina going to Tuscaloosa. I said yesterday my hot take for the season is that South Carolina, this is their best chance to – this season is probably one of their best chances to do something major. Highest blue chip ratio in quite some time. You've got the talent on the offensive and defensive sides of the ball with Lenore Sellers, Nick Carver, and Dylan Stewart. You've also got an upgrade along the offensive line in terms of coaching and talent. You've got a new offensive coordinator, somebody who's breathing fresh life into that program. Is Shane Beamer, coaching for his job at this point? I don't know, but if he is, we've seen upsets of Alabama keep coaches alive a lot longer than they should have been. Mike Norvell.
Welcome to the program, Mike Norvell.
Yeah, Mike Norvell, Florida State. Vandy's going to Auburn. Vandy's not sneaking up on the Tigers in that matchup. Auburn, they want to get that win over Vanderbilt and draw even in the all-time series against the Commodores. Yes, Auburn currently has a losing record to Vanderbilt. Auburn does. Ole Miss at Florida there. A week off that emotional game against LSU. Ole Miss going to the Swamp. If Florida's hitting their stride, if the Gators are punching above their weight class, that's one that I'm keeping an eye on. But again, it kind of all go right, guys. It almost all goes out the window when you look at the game right beneath that. Oklahoma going to Georgia, and the game beneath that, Texas A&M going to LSU.
So far, there's not been much debate in what is the game of the week for each week. It's been pretty.
It's LSU unanimous. Clemson. It's Ohio State Texas. It's LSU Ole Miss. This is the first one where I look at that and I go, I have no idea what's going to be 6:30 on ABC.
It's got to be Georgia, Oklahoma.
What if LSU's undefeated? What if LSU and A&M are both undefeated going into that game?
It's still Oklahoma, Georgia.
Okay. I think it's fair. I think it's a conversation, though.
If you stack up the best on versus the second best, Georgia better than whoever's the best out of LSU and Texas A&M.
Yeah.
So Georgia gets the advantage, and then Oklahoma is just as good, if not better, than both of those schools. Plus, they don't play every year. This is the first time they played since the Rose Bowl. You good?
Yeah, sorry. I forgot I left the door open. So my dog just walked in, licked my kneecap, picked up a toy whale, and walked out.
Okay.
Sorry, that just really threw me off for a second.
All right.
And now he's whining in the other room. I apologize for that.
If all 4 teams are undefeated, Georgia, Oklahoma still gets it. Because they won't want to, like, despite what everybody thinks about ABC, they're not going to force feed LSU to us 3 out of 4 weeks.
Not to mention the fact that you've got, Alabama and Texas on the schedule later in the year. Lane Kiffin's going to go back to Neyland Stadium. I mean, no. I'm talking about later in the season. I apologize. Alabama, LSU later in the season. LSU and Texas later in the season. Lane Kiffin's got to go to Neyland Stadium the next to last week of the season. So there's a lot of potential to see a lot of LSU at 6:30 on ABC.
They're going to get their love. I just don't think it'll be in week 4.
I think that's fair. I would give it to Oklahoma, Georgia. Even still, LSU, Texas A&M, they're going to be – one of those is 2:30, one with Sean McDonough and Greg McElroy. One of those is 6:30 with Chris Fowler and Kirk Herbstreit.
You can't go wrong.
You can't. So if it were up to me, I would go 6:30 Georgia, Oklahoma, 2:30 Texas A&M and LSU. The SEC's coming out and punching really, really hard there in some of those games there. I'm also keeping an eye on Iowa going to Michigan. Again, not saying that Iowa's going to pull off the upset in the big house, but Iowa's a team that they make defense really, really difficult to play against. Iowa's always got one of the best defenses in the country, despite the fact that they play, more snaps than anybody else in the country. If Michigan and Bryce Underwood and Kyle Whittingham are not necessarily in their perfect spot, if that's not a perfect storm for Michigan, they're struggling a little bit on offense, and that defensive line isn't, up to the Michigan standard. Iowa could drag this thing into the mud, and if there's any sort of inclement weather in that game, that only favors Iowa. I don't know what the over/under is going to be on that game, but if it's more than 30, I'm probably going to take the under on that one, just because I think that's the way Iowa loves to play. And again, any inclement weather. Not great for Michigan. Oregon going to USC, new look USC, as they've tried to get more physical. Oregon's going to have 2 brand new coordinators, but the Ducks are a team that many consider to be almost a lock for the college football playoff, despite the fact that they've got to play, at USC, despite the fact that they've got to play Ohio State this season. But still, a couple of key games that I'm keeping an eye on there. How about 11 a.m.? See it right there. Battle of the UT. Texas going to Tennessee. That could be a really fun one.
Neyland is going to be juiced up that day.
Am I correct in saying that they're checkerboarding Neyland for that game?
I would only assume so. They're pulling out all the stops for this battle of the real UT crap.
Well, okay. They normally checkerboard Neyland for the Alabama game, though. So that's and Alabama's got to go to they only do it once per year. So they normally checkerboard Neyland for the Alabama game. And Alabama comes to Neyland Stadium a little bit later in the season. But I feel like, and this is going to get me in trouble being on the air in Tuscaloosa, I feel like for Tennessee right now, Texas is a bigger game than Alabama is. Texas is a more notable opponent coming to Neyland Stadium in 2026. Only this season, Texas is a bigger opponent than Alabama is.
I don't know if that makes it. Because that'd be like saying Oregon's going to Ohio State, but that doesn't make it a bigger game than Michigan coming in at the end of the year, if that makes sense.
Texas is the best team that's going to step into Neyland Stadium this year.
Yeah.
Is that because this is the first time Texas is going to Tennessee?
I almost wonder if that's what it is too.
If that's the reason, then I kind of agree with you.
I think it's fair.
It's a rare thing.
It's very, very rare. It's like
Alabama and Neyland.
It's like Oklahoma going to It's like Oklahoma going to Georgia. We've never seen that. We've never seen the Sooners play a football game in Sanford Stadium. I don't know if we've never seen Texas play a game in Neyland Stadium. I know I haven't. I know in my 25 years of life, I've never seen Texas play Tennessee. They may have when I was, 2 years old, but I wasn't watching college football at that point. Matter of fact, look up Whitman real quick. Look up the all-time series. See if they've even played each other at this point. Look that up real fast here, because Texas and Tennessee, I'm excited for that matchup. 11 a.m. in Neyland Stadium. Thank God for Texas, it's not a night game, because I've been in that stadium at night. Ew, gross, not fun. That is not a fun stadium to go play in at night unless you're wearing bright orange.
They have not played since 1970.
Was that
and they've only played 3 times.
Were any of those in Neyland Stadium?
I am working on it.
Regardless, 1970, that was 31 years prior to me being born.
Here we go. 1951, Tennessee won in the Cotton Bowl. 1953, okay, all 3 games were in the Cotton Bowl. Texas won the last 2. Tennessee won the first one. And
so
all of them happened before 1970.
So Texas has never played a game in Neyland Stadium, is what I heard. That's what I just heard.
You are correct.
And Texas has got to go experience good old Rocky Top at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. Again, not saying there's an upset happening, but if Neyland Stadium is not a fun place to go play a football game.
Is not.
I've seen a couple of games in that stadium.
Is not.
That's not a fun place to go play a football game if you're not wearing that really, really bright orange
ugly
color.
Oh, sorry.
No, just bright. We'll take our last time out here for our radio listeners, and we'll come back and wrap up the loose ends next here on the Deep South College Football Show. We're getting ready to wrap up the loose ends here on the Deep South College Football Show as we are talking some of the best games coming up here in college football this season. I guess we'll end here with week number 5 action here. When you look at the world of college football here, as by this point, we're midway through the season here. So some of these Friday night games, aren't always the best, but I'm keeping an eye at Whitman. I know this is your team, and I say that like you're an actual massive fan of this team. No, you've just been the biggest Virginia Tech supporter on this program. Pitt at Virginia Tech, 6 p.m. on a Friday night. First Friday night game in October.
To be fair, I am surrounded by Hokies. I can't go to church or go hunt a deer on a Saturday morning without bumping into 10 of them, like actual graduates. So that's where it comes from. It's really either that or just cheer for VCU basketball in the winter growing up when it comes to college athletics. So got to pick one. I do think this is a good spot for them, especially if Pitt's playing well. I mentioned it when I hosted the show last week. This would be a good spot for Virginia Tech to get a big win. I mentioned that earlier this week when we were talking about the ACC. This is one of those that Virginia Tech needs to win if they want to be taken serious in year one. Mm-hmm. It's one that they need to win if they want to just build a 7-5, 8-4 kind of year in year number 1.
I think it's fair. You roll into the Saturday games here, and SEC action isn't the best. Vandy's got to go to Georgia. You expect Georgia to thump them there. Alabama and Mississippi State, keeping an eye on that game. It's going to be an early kickoff. We know that already. We don't know if it's 11 a.m. or if it's noon, but we know that's an early game. Early kicks favor the road team, but Alabama hasn't always played their best on the road. Camario Taylor, Fluff Bothwell, Anthony Evans on offense, Kelly Jones as well on the defensive side of the ball. I don't know. Just wanted to keep in your back pocket there. You got a battle of 2 of the best running backs in the SEC, though, potentially with Jaden Ball and Florida heading to Columbia, Missouri to take on Ahmad Hardy and those Tigers there. Kentucky and South Carolina. That's a game that, you don't always look at and say, yeah, that's going to be a good one. But Whitman, it always seems like some of these SEC games that kind of get overlooked, right? Alabama going on the road to Mississippi State, running back battle between Florida and Missouri. Not to mention you've got Auburn and Tennessee probably going to be a little bit later in the day. Auburn got to go to Neyland Stadium. But Kentucky and South Carolina, that's going to be one that's like 2 o'clock on the SEC network that isn't going to do great numbers from a viewing standpoint, but might be one of the more entertaining games of the season.
It's going to be one of those games that at the end of the year, nobody cares about, and for good reason, unless they just end up 60-55, something like that.
I'd be cool with that. I'd be cool with South Carolina running out of fireworks again.
For people like us that, one, need to be involved in games like this to know what to talk about, and people like us that enjoy games like this because of the bigger picture that it paints for the SEC, for the college football season, this is going to be a big game in deciding what does Kentucky look like from here on out. Or is this a, Shane, now we actually have to fire you. You just lost to Kentucky. Or is it, okay, we just stomped on Kentucky. South Carolina is, in fact, going
trending in the right direction.
Coming off of playing Alabama, probably losing to Alabama. They'll probably pick up a win over Kentucky, but depending on how they do it, could inject a lot of confidence into that team going into the second half of the season.
That is true. That is true. And then Miami going to Memorial Stadium in Clemson, South Carolina. Washington at USC. Minnesota at Michigan. Keep an eye on Drake Lindsey in that game, the quarterback there for the Golden Gophers there. Just all in all, pretty decent slate of college football, despite the fact that, some teams are playing a little bit of not as high quality opponents. But that'll do it for us today. Tomorrow, we'll continue through this trend. I think I need to check my email and double check. And then Friday, Whitman, be thinking about this. Friday, we're giving version 1 of our college football playoff predictions. Version 1, the final version will come out prior to week 0.
A rough draft, if you will.
A rough draft of our predictions for the college football playoff. Coming up next for our radio listeners, The Game with Ryan Fowler on Tide 100.9 and 12:30 a.m. WTBC. That'll do it for us today on YouTube as well. Big thanks to everybody who checks out the show. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe to the Deep South College Football Show. We really, really greatly appreciate everybody who does so. Support for the channel is incredibly massive for us and for every single one. Last I checked, we had 133 subscribers. So to all 133 of you, thank you from the bottom of my heart. We'll be back tomorrow afternoon right here on the Deep South College Football Show. Until then, my name is Wyatt Fulton. Everybody stay safe and God bless.